Justin here from Adrenaline Cycle. I'm going to introduce to you this Ducati 916. This is considered one of the most iconic sport bikes ever built. This motorcycle was designed by Massimo Tamburini. He spent 6 long, painstakingly years designing this motorcycle, which was based off the Ducati 888. They share many of the same parts, the motor pieces, the heads, the cams. This motorcycle at the time was a 916cc motorcycle, a 90-degree L-twin, desmodromic valve train, which is very special and unique to Ducatis. This bike is very sharp. The way the fairings come off, it's pure race bike. Quick release Zeus fasteners, so you can remove them quickly at the racetrack if you needed to. The single-sided swing arm, the underseat exhausts, and all this was done for the aerodynamics of the motorcycle mainly, and obviously aesthetics, which is very important to the Italian manufacturers. Not the most comfortable bike, but very agile. 114 horsepower with 66 foot-pounds of torque. So not the most horsepower in turn, but it was usable power. Even to today's standards, if you rode this bike on a track, it's very competitive even against newer bikes through the corners. Obviously not the top speed, as it's lacking that with 114 horsepower, but through the corners, this bike can give any newer leader bike a run for its money. Carl Fogarty, actually, World Superbike racer, he won 34 races between 94 and 98 on this motorcycle, winning every World Superbike title in that time as well. This motorcycle is also offered in the SP and the SPS, which are even more rare, higher-end examples, which produce more horsepower, a little bit less weight, and such. Massimo Tamburini was so ecstatic about this bike, and the reason it took him 6 years to design this thing, everything was very special the way he designed this thing. He even drove the prototype in the rain to deal with the turbulence and airflow getting around the bike, long before people were really using wind tunnel testing. And he drove this thing, and that's how they designed this bike. He actually said that he wanted it resembled kind of like a woman, like the shape of the motorcycle. He wanted to be fast-flowing and to cut through the wind and be aerodynamic. Even on this bike has almost perfect weight distribution, 50-50 front to back. They actually placed the battery here right on the right side because of that. That was the whole design purpose, was to keep the weight even on this motorcycle. This is a actually special 916. It's a Varese model, which was built at the Cagiva factory in Varese, Italy, due to Bologna factory having a fire in their painting area. So Ducati, in order to save them at the time, they were having serious financial difficulties, and this bike created such a stir when they released the prototypes of this bike that people were lining up to buy this machine. They wanted to buy it. So Ducati, and hence, had these bikes built at the Cagiva factory in Varese. So there's some key differences between this one and the regular one. Number one, 2,663 models came out of the Varese factory, which of 641 of them for U.S. market. All of them was the monopostal single seat model. And some of the key differences are you see the Cagiva elephant on this, the windshield, the gas cap, underside the clutch cover here, in the stock exhaust, which these are not stock, these are fast by Faricis, as well as has the EEPROM chip updated for the fueling. And this bike actually had a P8 ECU, which was programmable, unlike the regular models from Bologna, which is from their SP5 race bike. So this bike, they considered it more hand-built because they didn't have the production line in their facilities as they did in the Bologna factory. This was kind of a quick move to switch over so they can get these bikes to production. These bikes, as well as the 11th letter in the VIN number, is a V instead of a B for Varese, and B is for Bologna. This bike here is a 95 with 7,200 miles. You can expect something like this in this condition, a regular Bologna model, to cost you around $15,000 to $17,000. Varese demanding a little bit more due to its exclusivity. The reliability and maintenance on these bikes is a little bit heavy. It's considered heavy. They actually have a rubber belt in the motor that controls the valve timing. And those belts every 2 years need to be replaced, no matter what the mileage is, because they are rubber and they will crack and they can break, creating catastrophic engine damage. So they are maintenance heavy. This is not a bike for everybody. It's for somebody that can appreciate this Italian design, but they are quite a bit of work to maintain and to keep going. So performance of this motorcycle, it did the quarter mile in 10.6. And it had a speed of 128 miles per hour and top speed of 158 miles per hour. So it was no slouch. It was not the fastest at the time, but this broad linear torque curve of this motorcycle made it unbelievably successful in racing, as it could come off the corners very smooth, and you could short shift this bike, unlike revving it so high like an inline 4 motor. So it came off the corners exceedingly well, and it won many World Superbike titles. Like I said, with Carl Fogarty from 94 98, 34 wins, as well as he won every title the years that they were running these bikes. The successor of this bike was the actual Ducati 996. Okay, that was the next up, and then they went up to the 988 after that. Very similar bike, not a whole lot different. And the values of these bikes are much, much less than a 916. But they are climbing. So if you are in the market for a Ducati, the first generation styling, you should really look at these bikes now, as they're going to start going up in price just as the 916s have. But this is a bike that if you ever get the chance to ride it, you really should. And to give you a whole different appreciation for the build quality of the time. And you know, the love that was put into these motorcycles and the dedication, and you know, you can feel this bike as you ride it. You can feel the time that they put into this bike and how much they cared for it. Unlike many bikes today that are kind of mass produced and pushed out, these bikes are, you know, these bikes give you an experience. It's not just a ride, they are an experience. And that's what the older bikes bring, that, you know, even though 114 horsepower isn't very much, the feeling that the experience that this bike gives you is second to none. You can't experience this on any newer motorcycle that you would find out there for sale. If you get the chance to ride one, you should, or buy one, even better. So this is the overview of the Ducati 916. I hope you've enjoyed it and appreciate this beautiful motorcycle. And again, ride safe, enjoy the ride, get out there as much as you can. Thank you, guys.